Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how we're going to prep for your first essay in ninth grade English, the Of Mice and Men essay. And the document that I'm going to go over today, you will see if you go all the way through it, has 7 different tasks that are on this document, but we are only going to be going over the first 3 tasks on this particular document. And just so you know, we will be doing just a little bit at a time. So you will not be required to do all tasks at home. Some tasks we'll be doing in class, but all of them are to prepare you for sitting down and writing your first essay so you feel very confident and comfortable, and you've received feedback from me along the way. In order to receive feedback from me along the way, you will also notice that this particular document of Mice and Men Essay Prep is loaded into our new Google Classroom. And the reason that I've put it in Google Classroom is that way I can log in at any time that I want, and I can see your progress and provide you feedback as you are working, rather than just waiting until the whole document is done and turned in. That way you can feel confident in moving forward. So let's go ahead and begin by talking about, we're going to go over task number 1, task number 2, and task number 3 today. So it starts by saying, over the next few weeks, you will complete a series of tasks to help you prepare to write your first essay. Some tasks will be completed at home, some will be completed in class. I will go over which parts to complete during class, and you can also check the calendar linked in Canvas. You'll also see here that there is a link for a Jamboard that we'll be using in class. We won't be using that right at this time, but we will in the future, so I just linked it at the top of the document to make it easily accessible to you. So our task number 1 is to go over the prompt. The directions say to read the prompt, identify the action words, and complete the do what chart. And that's what this video explains how to do. So let's begin with the first part, which is read the prompt. Prompt. Who is the most powerful character in the novel, and what type of power does he or she have? Choose a character or characters and provide supporting evidence from John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men to reinforce your claim of why or how this character is powerful. Or you can write about this. Who is the most marginalized character in the novel and why? Choose a character or characters and discuss why he or she is the worst. Provide supporting evidence from John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men to reinforce your claim of why or how this character is marginalized. Then explain the evidence you chose to utilize to show their power or powerlessness. And finally, analyze how the evidence proves your main idea by explaining how John Steinbeck uses his character's experience to teach the reader about human nature. Now, the next thing that it asks you to do is to identify the action words and then complete a do what chart. Now, these 2 parts actually go hand in hand because you have to identify the action words in order to complete the do what chart. This is what a do what chart looks like. Basically, anytime you're given a prompt for any essay, any kind of writing prompt, if you go through and you look for the action words or the verbs within this prompt, then you can fill out this chart. What you want to know before you begin writing is what is it that you are being asked to do. So we look for the verbs, the doing verbs, or the action words in order to figure out what it is that you're being asked to do. So let's go back through and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the prompt asks first, who is the most powerful character in the novel and what type of power does he or she have? And our first action word is to choose. So we go through and we highlight choose because that is a verb telling us what to do. So choose a character or characters and, here's another one, provide. And provide supporting evidence from John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men to reinforce your claim of how or why this character is powerful. As you keep reading, you're going to notice that the second part of the prompt, which is your other choice, is to write about marginalized characters, and the same verbs are going to be used. Who is the most marginalized character in the novel and why? Choose a character or character and discuss why he or she has it the worst. Provide supporting evidence from John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men to reinforce your claim of how or why the character is marginalized. So this whole first part, basically you have 2 parts. If you choose to talk about powerful characters, you're going to pay attention to this part of the prompt. If you're going to choose to talk about marginalized characters, then instead you're going to choose from this part of the prompt. So you'll notice that both of them ask you to choose and then provide, to choose and then provide. So those two parts are pretty much the same when we go to the do what chart. So let's start with the word choose. So the first thing it asks us to do is to choose. So I want you to type in choose. And then what are we supposed to choose? We're supposed to choose a character or characters. And we know that the character or characters in this first part of the prompt are powerful characters, and they come from John Steinbeck's novel. So we're going to say, we're going to copy this part. So choose a character or characters from John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men that are the most powerful character or characters in the novel. I'm just getting rid of this. There we go. Okay, and it can be more than one, so I'm going to put characters. Okay, so choose a character or characters from John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men that are the most powerful characters in the novel. Okay, now you also have another choice. The other choice is to choose and provide marginalized characters. So we're going to press return. And so your other choice is to choose a character or characters. Actually, this part's the same. Copy that and paste it. Okay, but this time, instead of powerful characters, we are going to choose the ones that are the most marginalized characters. So we'll do this part right here, and we'll change them to marginalized, that are the most powerless or marginalized characters in the novel. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. Okay. So you're either choosing powerful characters or marginalized characters. Then it asks us to provide. And in both instances, it basically asks us to provide the same thing. So provide. Okay, so provide supporting evidence. And that supporting evidence just varies in which kind of supporting evidence. So it's supporting evidence to reinforce your claim. And the first one is of why or how the character is powerful. So just copy and paste that part in. Or of why or how the character is marginalized. I made a funny wonky or. There we go. All right. Now let's keep reading. We've covered the first part of the prompt. Let's go ahead and go on to the second part of the prompt. The explain starts with explain the evidence you chose to utilize to show their power or powerlessness. Finally, analyze how the evidence proves your main idea by explaining how John Steinbeck uses his characters' experiences to teach the reader about human nature. So our next action word is explain. So we're going to highlight that and we're going to type in explain. And what is it asking us to explain? And it tells us right here, we can copy this whole rest of the sentence. Explain the evidence that we chose to show their power or powerlessness. And the last part, if you're reading ahead, this is capitalized, so it kind of helps you find it. The last thing is to finally analyze how the evidence proves your main idea. So we're going to go ahead and put analyze. Okay, and it's this whole last part. How the evidence proves your main idea by explaining how John Steinbeck uses his characters' experiences to teach the reader about human nature. So please copy that and put that in. Now, the whole reason for doing it in, putting it in a do-what chart is not only does it tell you exactly what it is that you're being asked to do, but it also helps you to organize your essay. And let me show you how. Now, first of all, choosing the characters from Of Mice and Men that are powerful. If you have more than one character, you can have the first body paragraph about character 1 and the second body paragraph about character 2 that's powerful. The same thing with marginalization. Or if you do your first body paragraph or both body paragraphs about the same character, then you can show how they're powerful in one way in the first body paragraph and how they're powerful in a different way in the second body paragraph. There's a lot of ways to do this right, but the choosing part just helps you to understand how your essay is going to be organized. Then within the body paragraphs, these words tell you how it is that you're supposed to answer the question or the prompt. Because a lot of times, if you don't answer the prompt, you don't get the score that you would want to get. So when you are providing supporting evidence, the key word being evidence, that helps to show you that you're supposed to write an evidence sentence. And that's something that we've been working on so that you would feel comfortable being able to provide that evidence, where you have the transition, the lead-in, the contextual lead-in, the evidence, and the citation. Now these other two words, explain and analyze, sound like something else that we've been working on, and that is analysis. So both of these are analysis words. And the first set of analysis, A1, in this case, explain the evidence you chose to utilize to show their power or powerlessness. This will require you to use some inference. And the A2, the analyze, says how the evidence proves your main idea by explaining how John Steinbeck uses his character's experiences to teach the reader about human nature. So if you are thinking about chunks like I talked about before, each piece of evidence that you provide will have at least 2 sentences of analysis, and this is how you approach the analysis. You have to explain the evidence you chose to utilize to show their power or powerlessness using inference, and also analyzing how the evidence proves your claim by explaining how he uses his character's experiences to teach the reader about human nature. So this just helps you within the paragraphs to understand how everything goes together. So when you go back to your notes about paragraph structure, this will help you to understand how it all goes together. And we'll go through how that looks when we get closer to actually writing the full essay. First, most important was that you just understand what the prompt is asking you to do, and that's what you have in this lesson. So task 2 and task 3 will be completing on your own, and they're relatively easy. They're in preparation for writing. Task 2 asks you to look up synonyms for power or powerful and powerless and powerlessness and list them in the chart below. You're going to find at least 7 for each list, and you'll use these when you write your essay. So the reason that we do this is that oftentimes essays get very repetitive if you use the same word over and over and over again. And what new writers tend to do is to take whatever word was in the prompt, like power or powerful or powerless and powerlessness, and use the exact same word over and over again. That makes for a very boring, repetitive essay. So we want to increase your vocabulary and have you do even better when you write. So that's what you're doing for this is you are preparing yourself for that process. You have to find at least 7 for each one, but you can certainly find more. So all I would do is I would copy this part that says synonyms for power or synonyms for powerful, put it right into a Google search, and then find words that you think you might use in your essay, words you understand, or words that maybe you aren't sure how to use, but you can use examples from, because I want you to take some risks in this essay and use great vocabulary. So you're going to list those here, set at least 7 of them. You're welcome to do more. And then look for synonyms of powerlessness, and you're going to list all 7 of them here under these bullets. Okay. For task number 3, you're going to be searching for quotes, and those quotes will help you in writing your essay also and kind of bringing everything together. So you're going to search Google for at least 3 quotes about power, powerlessness, the center of power, privilege, marginalization, etc., and find quotes that might relate to the character of the essay to the character of the essay that you might write about. I meant to write that. Yeah, for your essay. For each quote, include who said the quote and a little background about who they are, and an example is provided. So I wrote one here, and the quote is here, and then the person who wrote it and their background is right next to it. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to find 3 about any of those topics. You might end up using one of them, you might use all of them, but you're going to provide them there. And that's it. You don't have to turn it in, you're just going to keep it in Google Classroom, and I will go